Hello and welcome to a Taylor's Tales podcast. This is Chris's Corner. I'm your host, Chris Taylor, and welcome this week to the first in-person podcast of all time for the Taylor's Tales podcast.
Yes.
So welcome the first ever guest, and now the first ever guest in person is Jonathan Edwards.
Yeah. Well, you say I'm a guest, you're a guest at my house.
This is no longer Chris's Corner. It's actually Jonny's
back garden. Yeah.
So, mate, this is an absolute pleasure. Number one, thank you very much for hosting the podcast.
Thank you for coming.
And number two, this is going to be epic because I have so many things to talk to you about because obviously it's been a while. And also eventful, exactly. And I feel like we're copying Two Bears One Cave because this is their exact setup that they had in the first few podcasts where they were side by side.
You learn from the best.
Exactly. So
how are you? Brett.
Yeah. Oh,
Brett,
mate. Yeah. Burnt Chrysler.
Burnt Chrysler. Yeah.
But it's knowing from them, and we're both massive fans of the YMH Studios and like being big like podcasting fans of all things. What would you take from them that you would want to replicate? I know I'm mucking about a little bit in the sense that we've got the same setup, but what would you want to take from them as inspirational sort of like stuff?
I'd say that's a good question. I think it's very much with Two Bears and the YMH, Tom and Christine obviously married. They have this connection that you get nowhere else. And then obviously Tim and Brett, Burnt Chrysler, they're just best friends. They just have a laugh, and it's just so easy. It's not. They don't have to work at it too much. It's not forced. I feel like a lot of podcasts that are trying to make their way. They're trying to be the next Joe Rogan or the next YMH, then the next kind of Bill Burr podcast. They're really kind of forcing it, and that's where you lose the just easy connection between two people.
True.
And I feel like with your podcast, you do get that because you know the people who you're talking to, you can relate to them, you're easygoing with them, and everyone's obviously being a podcast, it's quite nerve-wracking if you're not used to it, but as soon as you get into that flow, you kind of really get down to that kind of calm state, especially with the guests that have been on. So I say just take it easy.
I love that because
no
stress, number one, and also something that we all love is the fact that it's as if you're the third person in the conversation when it comes down to them. You're that when you're listening, you're like, I'm part of the crew. I'm the other bear. I'm the other bear in the cave.
Yeah.
Like I'm sat, it's Two Bears One Cave, but you're sat there listening in, and you're feeling like the family of the YMH, aren't you?
It's. I feel like everyone in their own podcasts have got that particular world, that particular following that you go into, and very much like this one, you've got people that I talk to on a regular basis. I've seen the podcast. It's great. You've got things going. It's easy to get into.
Yeah.
It's just easy to flow. It's easy to understand. There's not too much political debate or whatever. It's very much I can just...
We stay away from politics on this podcast. Stay away. Back foul beast. They stay in the ring bearer. Stay close.
Yeah.
No, but I totally agree with you on that one. And something that you spoke about recently, as well as, for instance, like, I'm not going to agree with everyone on everything, but I try not to attack people as well. It's like, I do find when it does come to a sort of conversation when you're trying to debate something, it's like some people want to be like, I've got you.
People think of it as you're attacking them, like it's a very personal thing to them. Whereas I've always been taught, and I've understood from a very, I wouldn't say early age, but like from previous years, you're not attacking them as a person, they're not attacking you. It's just not understanding your point of view or not understanding their point of view, and it's a common discourse and a discussion revolved around a certain topic. Even if it's football, you're talking about say the Euros and how obviously England went to penalties, and I've had discussions with family and friends about, well, should should that have happened? Should this have happened? And just because you have disagreements doesn't mean you're attacking that person or attacking their ideals. I think it's to me, my ideals are kind of backed by what I know and how I've learnt them and kind of my life experiences, but they can always change. As I grow as a person, or as if you have a conflicting view and then you make a solid argument, I could be like, oh yeah, I totally understand that, and it like kind of
evolve your understanding.
It just kind of later down the line, my kind of thought process would go back to like your thought process, so it'd be on the same level. It's very much everyone's in their own boat.
Yeah,
everyone's in the same boat.
Yes. We just don't realise we're rowing at the same time, and at the finish line, we all end up at the finish line at the same time as well. It's
work together, and everything will be easy.
Yes.
I think.
No, that's so good, because for me personally, there's nothing worse than like that. Oh, I've got to be the best. I've got to be like the number one out of everything, and. You know, for me personally, let's say you started a new podcast and you wanted to join it, the first thing I'd do is be like, go check out Jonny's podcast right now, because that's like, there's nothing worse than people who are
it's all about having that common connection. And I feel like there's certain aspects of the world or industries that you get that are very conflicting. There's very much I need to be better than you to succeed, and that's not true at all. You just need to succeed.
Yes.
And you could succeed in small doses. It's like Dave said on the podcast, one of your podcasts. He makes his bed in the morning every day, and that's the win. First win he gets. Yeah. And then as soon as, although it's just making a bed, it's so mediocre, or not even mediocre, it's just a thing that people do. But it's a win. And if you start off thinking, I've won, you keep on doing, you think, oh, I've taken a bit of a loss, but I've won all these times. If you don't think about the wins, there's so much negativity going around in the world. I think everyone thinks about the losses all the time. And it's so adamant on, you've done this wrong, you've done this bad, or it's either extreme wins or extreme highs that are represented, or every single bad thing that has been done. But you could just slip up once, and I think it's all about the effect that you have on people. Even if you don't make your bed in the morning, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that you're living the life that you want to live. But
some people are very busy, clearly.
Well, it's
secret for you. No. Here's a fun fact: Jocko Willink doesn't make his bed in the morning. Doesn't make it, because he gets up so early that his wife makes it for him.
Well, his wife's still in bed. So
that's always kills me, the fact that he's always on about getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and then he's just like, he doesn't make his bed.
Couldn't do it.
No,
couldn't
mate.
do it.
No, I'm asleep. You know, the phrase sleepaholic should now be incorporated into society.
Yes, people. I think napping was alien to me prior to going to university, and as soon as I went to university, I understood how people would go to lectures and be studying such an intensive course, and then get back home, and sometimes I think, okay, I just need half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour nap, and then straight back on it.
Power nap.
Just to kind of give me an extra boost of energy.
Speaking on that, like Matthew Walker, the writer, who I remembered from the last podcast, whose name I forgot, wrote the book Why We Sleep. And he talks about how Einstein and I think it was also Edison, who would literally rock back on like a chair and would have marbles underneath it, and he'd try and go to sleep. And then he'd hold something in his hand that was heavy, or like keys, for instance, and he'd like fall asleep, and then as he fell asleep, the keys would fall down and clang against the floor, and it would jolt him up. And in that moment, he would have the most creative thought process to be able to go and do his work. So that's perfect for university, isn't it? In that sense.
You got to find the rocking chair though. That's
it's true.
And,
it's true.
One that's not too comfortable.
Because then it's like 4 hours later.
Yeah.
I've missed the rest
still
of the
holding
day.
the keys. Yeah.
Oh dear, oh dear. That's another thing, is like you can get too comfortable, can't you? Where it's like the opposite end of the scale.
Yes, and we've talked about this before. I think being too comfortable, it scares me a little bit. It worries me on if you're comfortable, life is easy, and to have the best self-improvement of yourself, or to try and be the best version of yourself, you need a bit of resistance.
Yes.
And it sounds very cliche and everyone's saying it these days, but a lot of the time it's true. If a lot of people are saying it and they're doing well, then I think that's evidence that it works. But yeah, at the moment,
I'll say it before and I'll say it again. Life moves.
Yeah. You've said that many times.
No, I love it. No, but you're totally right, because I hear Rogan say it all the time, in the sense that hard times make hard men.
Yes.
Easy times make easy, but like men who make times harder,
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And the idea that we are in a time that's actually quite hard. You think coronavirus, the pandemic, is mentally a tough place to be for a lot of people?
Yeah, I think, well, not just a lot of people. I think for everybody, everyone's fighting their own battles in certain ways. And like you said, mentally, this pandemic, the whole situation of working from home and being cooped up in certain situations, I feel quite lucky because we have a bit of space so we can separate ourselves from each other. Although there are four people in the house, we can kind of separate ourselves so we're not on top of each other all the time. But a lot of the people aren't so lucky, and it's I think everyone in their own way has definitely become stronger person, and it could be mentally, it could be physically. I know a few people that have gone down the I've never worked out this hard in my life kind of route, but yeah, it's good to see people improving. And I think you've said before that you always want to help people up. My grandmother always says, never look down on anyone unless you're helping them up.
Yeah.
But
the hardest thing is that, though, is because you're taking your ego out of the perspective, aren't you?
Ego is a very dangerous thing, I think. But everybody has one. Everybody, even me, the best and worst of times, everyone has a kind of a self-image of themselves.
Yes.
That they want to be the best, especially in kind of like my sporting career. I say career, my sporting kind of early life anyway. But
do you feel that's had an effect on you, like later on in life, where you started off at such like a rocket, where you were going so fast in rowing, and how you were successful, and now you're at that point where you're not doing it anymore, and you're kind of like, oh, I miss those days of sort of thing? Or do you not?
So I've done a fair amount of sports. I was competitive swimmer, competitive rower. I'd run a few half marathons. I try a lot of stuff. So I've tried wakeboarding and surfing and a lot of water sports actually. And I'm on archery and a lot of other stuff. But I think the rowing aspect, I've done the competitions, I've had my fun, and I think you do get a natural progression out of a sport. I think it was certainly my time, the people I was with, the crew that we'd built, kind of like the family that we'd built, whilst like over 4 or 5 years. Everyone was going their different ways, and I still speak to a few of them. But yeah, I don't miss it per se. It's not. I don't miss the 5 o'clock starts in the morning and sitting on a cold riverbank and getting in the middle of November. Yeah, it's absolutely pouring it down. But don't miss that at all. But it's the like kind of the aspect that I do miss is the people and the kind of comradeship and that side that side of sport that you do get in team sports and stuff like that. And I get that on a regular basis through seeing friends, and you do get that from other aspects of life. So, well, apart from when a global pandemic hits.
Yeah, I was about to say, when everyone's cornered away, you're immediately like, who can I talk to next?
It has to be online.
It has to be online, and it's not nearly the same, is it, in the sense?
It's no, it's been very challenging on a university student perspective. It's been very challenging doing a degree whilst at home in a room that's disconnected, and obviously doing an architecture based degree. It's very collaborative. You need people to talk to. You need people to discuss problems with your work, new ideas, and evolve your designs. But even with friendships, it's very difficult to sustain a friendship, although it's not. It can kind of simmer away, but it's very difficult to do that online without seeing them in person. So I've always been I want to see that person in person.
Yes.
Spend time with that person. So,
I definitely feel you on that one, because it's also a level of energy, you can body language, all of these things that you're not getting from a screen. I mean, for me personally, I find it difficult sometimes to read people. Like, you can't sort of totally get the energy of whether you're reflecting the right vibes or, you know, something along those lines. But for me personally, I'm slowly looking forward to getting back into it. I mean, for university, for you, I can't imagine, you know, you're in architecture. What would you say the main points are that you look forward to going back to, and what are the main points that you don't want to go back to?
Oh, good question. Got to try not to burn any bridges.
No. Don't worry about that.
There's no bridges to be that are going to be burnt. So I think
start naming names.
Yeah. The points that I do miss are my fellow students, the people I'm learning with, like the amount of friendships that I created. It also kind of almost seems, because I haven't seen these people, it's almost on the back foot again. I need to rebuild these friendships, these relationships with people. The things that I don't miss: hangovers. Late night partying and regretting it on a 9 o'clock lecture. But yeah, I think I've done that. Bought the T-shirt and everything. I think been there.
You're not going to that gig again.
Been there,
basically.
done that. It's very.
Seen that band.
Yeah, it's very much a student kind of initiation thing, doing all the clubbing things, and I've been there. Well, I've been at the university for 3 years now, so I've done that. I've got 2 more to go, and it's it
is what it is. After 3 years, that's enough. You'll be on that, and
let's focus on why I'm here. And getting out as with the best grade possible.
I mean, there's that, and there's also like you're more focused on the course than anything else. What are you there for in the first place? I mean, you're there for the degree, and therefore architecture and engineering, in your case.
Yes, very much so, and it's very much a learning experience on building relationships and talking to the copious amounts of different personalities that you get with people, and it's very much well, you know me, I could talk to anyone about anything for
but that's
years.
The best thing, isn't it?
I could talk for England, so I think with that aspect, it's very good because I can talk to a lot of people. I really kind of get on with a lot of different personalities. So I am looking forward to that. Getting out there, meeting new people, and just having a good time, really. That's
a really good way of putting it, because there's also, I mean, it's kind of funny. So you mentioned relationships, you mentioned like the atmosphere of university being a drawback, and then speaking to people and being there with people, that's a big thing, and the support that you get with it. Another thing.
It's just a network of people that
I'm intrigued at all. So with architecture, does like being remote and maybe having the level of like concentration not play a part for you? Do you know what I mean by that? Like being able to just focus purely on the architecture and the degree from home.
Architecture is a design-based practice, and I feel like in all areas of design, it's very collaborative. So you need that bounce back of how does this work? This doesn't. This does, and the evolution of your work, especially between client and designer, you do need that back and forth of how they want it. Obviously, it's their design and that sort of stuff. So, in my case, my lecturers would be my client, and I would have to design to their brief and everything like
Yeah.
that. So having that discussion face to face with them is really important. That being said, you can do it depending on the equipment that you have and the resources that you have. You can do it remotely. There's been many architects around the globe. I know of one. I can remember his name because I'm terrible at remembering names. But there's one he lives in New Zealand, in a remote kind of little village out in the middle of nowhere, and he's an architect, and he designs buildings from his office in New Zealand all across the globe. And because he has access to Google Maps and surveys, all he has to do is hire a engineering team or surveyor team just to survey the area, see what's happening, send him all the information. He then designs around that information, then sends it off to the client, has that discussion over a video platform, Zoom, albeit, or Teams or whatever, and then that's how you can get it done. So yes, you can. It would all depend on.
But for you, because you're beginning, that connection between the client and you right now is really important.
Really important to learn how to speak to clients and how to speak to people who may not know what's happening or may not understand how to do certain things. You get it in all kind of walks of employment. People see stuff and they think, oh yeah, I want that, when the people who actually know what they're doing could say, actually, that's not as efficient, or that's not as green, or that's not as that's a bit more problematic than maybe, in my case, this material or this design or this structural element. So it's very much a talking. You really need to kind of communicate really well in this industry.
That's really interesting to hear, because obviously within separate degrees, the concentration and the ability to cut off people and focus purely on the work would be a bigger win for some degrees. But the fact that you're like, I can't have access to the client and have access directly on a daily basis is really intriguing.
A few moments later.
So talking about clients, you've spoken about going through the process of having to be close to a client or a architecture sort of customer in this case, and that distance playing a part in the university degree. Are there other parts of your life that you found the sort of remote work has played a better or worse part? I mean, obviously you've talked about communication with friends and uniting and maybe re-energizing some relationships. Are there other parts of life that you're like, this is like needs to come back to normal?
To me, remote work is quite challenging because it's all about self-motivation, and I do bounce off other people. My energy does increase when I've got other people around. So I feel with my personality, I do kind of work well with other people there. So working on my own it's definitely been a challenge, but it's been a learning curve as well. And I've definitely know what works well, what doesn't work well, how I can make myself or force myself to concentrate or specifically go into one task. And it's all about kind of trial and error, really. It's finding that kind of sweet spot of, this is how I can work from home, or even giving an example of distance learning or distance working. It's finding that sweet spot of, this is how I work well, and these are the maybe areas that will not allow me to work well.
And so are you going to, let's say there's another lockdown, it all goes to shit, and by the time we hit like December of this year, it's another lockdown. Do you think you could deal with it again, sort of thing?
Very much so. It would be challenging again. I feel that there are certain aspects of uni life that need to be done in person, and I feel like I will try and do that, but it all depends where I am. I could be at the university or in Bristol, or I could be here. If I'm in Reading, then I know what works well. I know how I can work well, and it's just double downing kind of really enforcing that aspect, and yeah, just making sure I work hard and kind of efficiently.
Well, moving from there, do you find that now that you've like taken the hurdle and you're just sort of like past the problems of lockdown and pandemic, the stuff you're really looking forward to in the future? Any plans post university or anything just in, present time that you're like, woo, looking forward to the cinema or something silly like that? I don't know.
Cinema's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just looking forward to seeing people again and meeting people again and getting that kind of the aspect of life that everybody really misses. I think the fundamentally we're just animals.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're animals that need a community. We need a herd. We need a pack. And this has definitely been a restricting time in everybody's lives where we don't really get that anymore.
Yeah.
So coming back to this normality, especially in this country, it's good to see people again. It's good to spend time with people and do things. And to be honest, don't care what I do as long as it's with people.
Yeah, man. It took me a while to figure that out, though, to realise, like, for a long time, for me personally, I was like, I can do this alone, I can do that, I can be like, the lone wolf sort of mentality where you're just like, I can do stuff. The one thing that I found is, like, I was realising, like, the more time I spent with other people, I was like, oh, I'm actually much happier right now. Like, it's so much better doing stuff with other people than it is. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do stuff alone. It's great to do stuff alone. You should have that power within yourself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I realised that for me personally, I get energy from realising, like, I've spent the day with Jonny and I've had a great day and I've come home and I've realised I've got new memories.
The aspect that is interesting is that as soon as you get into the groove of being on your own, it gets a bit addictive.
It does, yeah.
And you think, oh, okay, this is... I'd like to do this a bit more because it's my own time. I'm doing what I want, and you can really focus on what you have to do, what you want to do, and what you need to do. So, I definitely think people make the world go round.
Yeah.
And it's that sharing those experiences are what is meaning the most. So,
I definitely agree, and I think that for me it took a bit of like, oh yeah, this pandemic's gonna be nothing for me. I'm gonna be like mentally all there and be like, oh, I'll be fine. It's actually kind of a little bit of a realization, like how much you realize how relationships play into your life and how you're like, wow, I miss this person and I miss hanging out and doing these smaller things that play big parts in your life. And I think it's coming back to those and realizing, like, wow, like this is life.
Definitely. And everybody just needs to laugh now and again. So.
Oh, mate, yeah, that's the best. Nothing makes me happier. I mean, for me personally, every time we bring up the Kool-Aid story of Bill and hearing that laugh, that your imitation of the laugh killed me last night of burnt Chryslers, creatures, and when we went to see him live, I'll never forget that.
Fantastic.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
fantastic.
We had that experience, and that's going to be one of those memories where when I die, I'm going to be like, fuck yeah, went to see that. And, it's really enjoyed that.
Something that just stays in your mind for a long time, and it's all about living those experiences and living them with the people you want to share those experiences with, and it's But I those people over there, and American comedy is my kind of comedy. I think
it's killing it, absolutely killing it at the moment. And I do look at the British comedians like, what's going on here? Like,
it's very, you do get British humour.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's very, some of it is very particular.
Yeah.
It's very witty. It's very intellectual humour. But I think, I'm not saying the American humour is not intellectual.
No. Yeah.
Comedians are some of the smartest people on the planet.
Yeah. They see the truth.
They kind of live and breathe on how the soul of society works, and they can essentially laugh at anything.
Yes.
Or make anything a funny aspect to kind of laugh about. They bring humour in where humour doesn't normally pop up naturally.
There's nothing more dangerous I see in my eyes than realizing you're taking life so seriously. You know what I mean? Like everything becomes like a potential sort of like we're all like this.
It's very restricting.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is, isn't it? Like
at the end of the day, life's just about taking it easy and like enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to enjoy the journey, then why?
Yeah.
Why go on the journey?
Why go on? Exactly. And more than anything, I'm so glad you said that as well, because I think that's what's so appealing about the American comedy scene at the moment is that they are literally just there enjoying the moment. And I do see that in what we said earlier, where the conversations are real. No, there's no society or no moment in time that would have accepted Joey Diaz more than right now, and how he is absolutely the representation of what you should see in the world and think there's somebody who's gone from absolutely nothing to something by using humor, joy, and just taking the piss out of life sometimes.
Yeah.
And in a good way, like in a way that he's like, oh, this is funny, but I'm gonna be there for somebody when they're down. You know what I mean? Like it's not just attack somebody.
No, it's you do get some comedians who just attack everything.
Yes, yeah, and not positive at all. It's kind of just a negative aspect.
I think you just need to you're weighing up everything, and I think comedians just don't take life too seriously because they know that in the end, what's the point? What's the point of taking life too seriously? There's some aspects that you do need to take seriously.
Yeah, definitely.
But a lot of the time, you just need to have fun.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. 100%.
Enjoy yourself.
Yes. I think of some of my favourite memories, and a lot of them are just silly. Like yesterday, for instance, when I went to the beach with my family, and then one of the funniest things for me was just like the wind was so strong that me and my sister were just pretending to fall into the ocean, like falling into the wind. Like, look at me, I'm falling forwards. But silly stuff like that, getting drenched in the rain, even though. And being at the beach when it's not warm and stuff like that. So it's just silly stuff that makes it memorable.
But it's the silly stuff that what is it that Robin Williams says in Good Will Hunting?
Oh,
it's the imperfections that make people perfect.
Yes. Yeah. She farts in her sleep.
Yeah. That was all ad lib, wasn't it?
It was all ad lib.
Oh my god, he's one of the greats.
And I adore Robin Williams. I miss his humour. He's a part of society I do miss in the sense that Hollywood, when I watched it, allowed him to be him, and he just
it's
brought joy to the world.
About allowing people to have their creative or whatever, allowing people to be unrestrained and being able to be 100% of themselves and creating something that they're passionate about. And a lot of people want certain things done certain ways, and especially in the film industry, you have a director who says, I need to do this way, I need to do this way. But some of the greatest moments, you just kind of step back and just let it go, and just as soon as they're on a roll, you're just like, okay, they're really working now, you're really going, let's just go with that.
And by doing so, you're almost having that spiritual aspect to it, where you're allowing someone to be fully who they are. I don't know if you're really a spiritual person, Jonny. I've never really asked you about that, if I'm honest. But do you feel that, I talk a lot about the ability to access the warrior, the king, the magician, the lover with people. Do you, or in Buddhism where you're accessing the positive karma, do you believe in anything along those lines in that sort of side of life?
I don't really know what to believe at the moment. It's I think the one thing that I do believe, and it might sound a bit cliche, but is I believe in the people around me. I believe in my family, my friends, and I definitely feel that aspect of my life is the one that's kind of pulling me in the right direction. So I don't believe in a deity of any sort, and I believe that everybody's free to believe in whatever they believe. But I definitely believe that, or I have faith in the people around me, and I help them, and then I ask them for help a lot of the time, and it's all about collaboration and allowing people into your life and just having a laugh, just having a good time.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of putting it, because people are the best part of life sometimes.
A lot of the time, especially for me, a lot of the time, yeah.
A few moments later.
And we're back again. So, we've talked about so many things in this podcast. We talked about friendship, relationships, the ability to work from home, your consistency, problem solving, how you've been able to get past certain barriers in your architecture degree. Is there anything you can't do, Jonny, at the moment? That's the question I'm coming across, because there's so much positivity coming out of this at the moment.
There's a lot of things I can't do.
Okay.
A lot of things I can't do.
To find out.
I am definitely not a perfect person, but I truly believe that no matter who you are, where you come from, as long as you're open-minded and you try everything, and if you try something and then say, yeah, I'm not really into that, or I don't really like it, then that's absolutely fine. But yeah, I'm definitely a go-getter when it comes to doing things. I like doing things. I'm very hands-on. I'm very much I'd rather not watch sport. I'd do sport.
Do sport, yes.
Even if I'm terrible at it, I'd rather just do it and just have a bit of a laugh with it. And
why not? It's like when you're at school and you play football and you may not be good at football, you love playing it with other people.
I'm horrifically bad at football.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Or even rugby. For me, it would be the other way around. Like, I'd be horrific at rugby, but you'd be much better.
I don't think I'm much better at rugby either. That's the only sport I do like watching.
Like watching rugby. And is it like the like that MMA sort of thing where it's like guys just destroying each other physically?
Ha! Gay!
Or is it a different thing to that?
I think it I'm going to try and think about what I say.
That's all right.
Stuttering.
Take a second.
But I think when it comes to rugby and how I like it, it originated from a group of friends watching a sport.
Yeah.
And I never really had a group of friends that were into football or would watch football I do have friends that do watch football and they like watching football and like playing football. You being one of them. But I think from a young age I was into watching rugby because of I knew people watching rugby, playing rugby, and it was that comradeship. It was the very much a social aspect, and then I just really enjoyed that. And I do watch rugby on my own now and again, especially internationals, but all the Six Nations games, a lot of the London Irish, not London Irish, the Lions tour games, I watch with people, and we have a couple of drinks, we enjoy the game, have a couple of drinks after, and then, it's
a lot of drinking with the game.
It's rugby, you can't not drink. But yes, it's very much a social aspect that I really enjoy.
Yes,
it's one of those. Another reason why I just enjoy people, having people, seeing people, having them around is what I meant. But I think rugby is definitely the sport for me. I'm not after watching,
gentleman's sport.
Well, yes, it's definitely a gentleman's sport. Well, it's a thug sport played by gentlemen.
The classic.
Sport. Yeah. But after watching the Euros, I was just
kind of bamboozled by the fact that our fans don't represent the nation.
Well, I've got no comment on that because I don't really understand why
hooligans.
Hooligans and yobs and
whatever you want to call it,
fighting and racism but going down onto the football pitch, I don't understand why you can't hear the ref.
Yes,
they're not mic'd up.
That is a big thing. Yeah, that's
and because
debate.
To be honest, I want to understand how they think. Like in rugby, you hear everything. You hear what they're saying, and off the bat, you can hear the ref's decision saying, "Oh, this is this," and it's done. And everyone's like, "Okay, yeah, cool, that's fine." But with football, you're like, okay, what even happened there? They're waiting for VAR, and then a lot of the time the VAR is too late because the ref has just carried it on.
And then you have to pull it back, and a lot of things.
Yeah, it's very much I feel football should follow rugby in that respect, where they should just stop the clock for a bit, TMO it, or VAR it in this case. Just watch the screen. Okay, what happened here? What happened here? What happened here? Okay, let's sort that out. And you have the assistant ref in the box just going over the computer, going over the camera work and all the video and stuff, and just making that. And I think the second aspect is the one thing I got really annoyed with, especially with the final in the Euros, was the effort. I'm big on effort in life. If you put 110% into everything you do, you're going to get rewards no matter what.
Yeah.
And I feel the effort that was given on a Euro final, one of the first finals since 66, it just wasn't there. The effort,
there was more effort in the semi-final than there was in the final.
Yes, and I felt obviously not being a fan of football, not really understanding what the players' minds go through and all that sort of stuff, you kind of start to think, oh, these people were just kind of taking it easy because they either think it's in the bag already, or
I have a feeling it was because of tactical reasons at the time.
Yeah,
it was Gareth Southgate had made a plan where he's playing a little bit more defensive because of the opposition.
Yes, yeah, but some of those tackles in the game and the penalties in that game were
I don't want to defend it, but it's kind of a lot of young men, young guys who are younger than us, and they're taking on the entire hopes of a nation.
Yeah,
so I do put that down to it as well.
Yes, it's very. I think the team did extremely well, and I'm very proud of them. Although I'm not a football fan, I did watch the final and did watch the semi and the final, and I'm very proud of the country for kind of backing them. But I feel that if you put a group of people from maybe a League One, League Two teams, they all play for free, but for the pride of England, playing for the shirt, essentially. They'll play for the shirt and they'll put 110% into it. And I feel that at the Premiership, kind of Premier League teams, you do get that, well, I'm getting paid this. And it's very much a kind
ego.
I'm coming at it from a rugby perspective, in the sense of, with rugby, you get the club teams, everyone's very respectful of each other. Okay, there are certain rivalries, but it's not as strong as in football, in the football world. But as soon as you exit the club and you go onto the national team pitch and you're training with the national squad, all rivalries go out the window. You respect your teammates, you respect the ref, and you're playing for the country. And I feel like there's certain aspects of, and it could be involved with the fans as well, but I've heard some comments saying some people don't like Harry Kane just because he plays for Tottenham, or if he played for Tottenham, I don't know where he plays now, but it's very much like, okay, I understand you've got loyalty, but your loyalty should be to your country. And yes, he plays for Tottenham. I don't know why that's a bad thing. Apparently they're doing really well. So
Tottenham are definitely not doing well.
Okay. Well, then I'm definitely not a football fan then, if I'm saying that.
But no, I get what you mean. There is definitely a divide between players and nation, and the difference between loyalty for a nation in rugby compared to football is massive. It is huge in comparison. You can see that from the past 20 years of English football in comparison to the last 20 years of English rugby. Not only the success for the English rugby team, but also the sort of lack of unification within the English football team, because we had such star players that didn't do anything with their talent together. We had one of the best teams in the world, and yet they couldn't unite. But if you look at the rugby team, there's a lot of star players over the years who had to knuckle their sort of like level down and just say, I'm just going to play with these guys and we're going to win.
Football is a team sport.
It's meant to be.
It's meant to be.
Yes.
But footballers don't play like they're in a team sport.
No.
I feel like it's very much a personal thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would like to reiterate again, I'm not a football fan.
No, I get it. Yeah,
I could be speaking out my arse, but I feel that with rugby, every single person of that team is a significant puzzle piece.
Yes.
Or a significant cog in the mechanism of rugby. If one fails, then the whole machine fails.
Yes.
And you do get yellow cards, sin bins, you do get red cards, but it's they don't get paid as much. And I feel like the passion comes before the money. And I'm a big fan of Gaelic football. So in Ireland they play Gaelic football. It's a shorter game, and it's just so nice to see because they don't get paid. It's just 100% passion.
Yeah.
And you can tell these people are putting in the effort. They really they work through the week and they're putting in the effort, playing on these weekends. My cousin used to play for one of the major teams, and he would fly back from Dubai when he was working in Dubai to play or support the team. It was just absolutely fantastic. You do get that cohesion of respect and passion when money's not involved. And obviously, being a rugby fan, I'm always going to say that footballers get paid too much. But
no, even as a football fan, footballers get paid too much.
Yes,
it's beyond. It's ridiculous. And I want to reiterate. We talked about this earlier. Is that within your job, it's a similar thing in the sense you're seeking people who have better jobs or feel that they have better jobs is because they're seeking their passion. So if you are seeking your job, it comes from money, great. But the level of passion should be above the level of money sometimes in that sense.
Yeah, I feel that.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't get paid a lot to do something awesome.
Oh no, not at all. I definitely feel that if you're passionate about something, albeit a sport, a job, any kind of thing, if you're really invested into that aspect, then the money's going to follow.
Yes.
You're not chasing the money, the money's chasing you. And I feel that a lot of young people these days are very money focused, fame focused.
Yeah, definitely.
And it is a very short-lived journey to try and go down that route. And obviously I'm not famous and I'm not rich, so I still love where I am. I still enjoy the company that I keep.
But you've got something that a lot of people don't have.
A beer belly.
Time.
Well,
beer belly. No,
I'm pretty sure everyone's got one of those.
No,
time.
Man. Yeah,
time. Well, a lot of people got time. It's just depending on how you use it, isn't it? So,
yeah, 100%. I've said this to you and friends before. I value. You can waste my money, but you don't waste my time. That is 100% something that I value above everything else. Is time can't be redeemed back. I know it's cliche. I don't care. It's cliche. The main thing is that. Why we look at for instance, in the football and the rugby thing, is like you're putting your time into watching this sport, right?
Yeah.
And you care, and you want to see the best come out of it. And you care that it's fair, and you want the wealth to be semi-distributed. I know we live in a capitalist society, so the best thing is that the best people get the most amount of money.
Yeah.
And that is unfair in itself, but that's the point, isn't it?
Well, it's. Sometimes money goes to money, and then money goes to the wrong pockets, and it's very conflicting. But it's a very money's a very dangerous route to go down, and trying to do all that and trying to sort everything out. It's very much enough about it.
No, look into the camera. Chase your passions, people.
Yeah,
those listening.
Don't chase the money.
Don't chase the money.
The money.
Chase the passion. But I totally agree. I think there's nothing more positive in this world as knowing somebody that you know is going after something they want in their life, and they're just going to sacrifice everything they can to go after that thing.
It's
level of respect as well.
Yeah, the word sacrifice popped out, and I feel sacrifice doesn't. It's all about risk and reward.
Yeah, that's
You
probably
need
a better way of
to-
putting it.
Rather than sacrificing, the word sacrifice obviously implicates that you're losing something overall. I think the risk of putting everything on the line and being able to focus on certain aspects, on focus on jobs, on sporting careers, lifestyle, certain aspects like that. It's all about risk and reward. And what are you willing to what are you willing to risk?
Yes.
To seek that reward of success, of power in certain circumstances. It's all about that life decision, isn't it?
And who's willing to take it? That's the question, isn't it?
Well, yeah. What's that line? There's a certain line from a film. Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Is the juice worth the squeeze? And when it's scariest to jump, that's when you jump in. So,
yeah,
definitely. And that's such a good way to the end. Cast, man, it's so positive as always. I love speaking to you. I love getting inside your brain. So let's end this on a high. And this has been a Taylor's Tales podcast. This has been Chris's Corner. As always, I'll see you this time next week. Thank you very much, Jonathan Edwards.
Thank you, Chris.